Yo, what up, peoples? Welcome back to another episode of Burning Through the Beats. I'm your host, Burnt Bacharach. I was flipping through YouTube a couple minutes ago, and I found a cover song of one of my favorite songs ever. It's a song by James Carr called At the Dark End of the Street. You should definitely check that song out if you've never heard it before. It's like the perfect drum track. I don't think it's just really simple, and I don't even think he hits a cymbal in anywhere. But this is a sample of the cover that I chopped, and I'm going to play it for you. As I'm playing it, I'm going to put chops in it, and then we'll go back in and adjust that. So here it is. One more time. So that's what I got for now. And I chopped this on the ones, like the quarter notes, Sim 4/4. I chopped it in the quarter notes so that we end up with kicks on these two rows here, and snares on these two rows. For the most part, unless there's some kind of change in there. So I'm just going to go through and tighten these up. So once I got them chopped up, I'm going to chop them into a new program non-destructively so that if I've got to go back in and adjust any start and end points, I can do that. Then I just pitch it around. So that was down. Let's try up a little bit. So I'm kind of just listening for a place. I'm screwing around and pitching it around until I hear something that, like a bunch of notes that kind of hit the mood that I'm feeling. Kind of cool. We can start with that. I usually start with something simple and then try to make it complex. So we'll tap this tempo in. It looks like it's somewhere around 85. So we'll put a little pattern in there. Speed it up a little bit just to get rid of the gaps. sometimes we can go in there and adjust our start point for that sample. This one's the short one, so we'll check that. Sometimes they're just off like that. Real drummers, you know. Let's check this one, see if that one has a gap. So that one's got a gap, so we're going to come back to that one there because they're pretty much just playing the same thing on both banks. So we're just going to overdub that one in. We're going to delete that off of the pattern and go back and put the one from bank A there, just because I felt like it was better. That seems good enough for now, so that's kind of cool. It's kind of happening. So at this point, I'm going to start looking for some drums to go over top of it. Some different one shots over top of it and see what kind of sounds happening with it. Try to build a drum kit. Kind of like that hi-hat, so we're going to grab it. Just try to sample down a little bit so we can hear these drums. So that's kind of nice. So let's put that in there. Again, I'm going to turn down this sample a little bit. And we're going to set a little swing up and put this kick pattern in here. to put that hi-hat pattern in there. Missed one, so we're going to get it right there. We're going to save this while we're here. Always save. You don't want to lose your shit. So I got that. It's just something basic. Really kind of not a whole lot of low end going on. The sample kind of sounds thin to me. So we're going to go back to the sample and we're going to put a little filters. People always are asking about mixing. I'm just mixing it as I go, just trying to form it. I never hear anything necessarily that I'm going for. I just form it like clay. Opens up, makes the drums. We can turn the sample up a little bit. Probably go in and turn our hi-hat down a little bit. I always like the snare to pretty much be the loudest thing in the mix. I like that hi-hat to sink low in there. So we'll go back there and I'll adjust it as it's playing. I'm just going to dump it out and then we'll bring it back in. Never be afraid to take anything all the way out and then bring it back in. Got that. We're rocking with that for now. So there's not a whole lot of low end on there. So what we're going to do is go create a new track. We're going to make a new program for that track. And we're going to call it bass. And we're going to look for a bass sample. I know where some are that I really like. So we're going to start there. Always like that bass sample, so we're going to load that up. Usually seems to work out well. So I'm going to set this program up to be a note, this whole program to be note on, so that when I let off of the pad, it quits playing. And I'm just going to mess around with this over top, name this track first, mess around with this over top of what I have so far and just see if I can find something that's in tune. We're going to put this in 16 level tuning. Let's do that one more time, make sure it's the right one. Then we can play scales across it. Hopefully it's in tune, we'll see. That note seems like it's in the right key and pretty in tune. So what we're going to do is go back to this program that the sample is on, and we're going to put a high pass filter across it just so the bass that was originally in it is interfering with the track that we have. So we can solo this up and listen to what that sounds like. So there's with all the bass in it, and we roll it out. track. And let's go back to that bass track. So that's pretty cool. That came together a lot faster than a lot of bass lines that I've tried to come up with, and usually they're out of tune and you got to adjust them. But that's cool. Let's put this in 30-second notes and punch that in. Wrong note. That's pretty cool, pretty basic. So I forgot that I had the SP1200 setting on, so that's what that adds. It's just some high end, it sounds a little too crispy based upon the sample. So I usually, if it's like a crispy thin sample, I'll run it in the normal mode. But if it's a thick sample and dark and needs some high end, I'll run it in SP1200. Most of them come in dark. This one didn't, so we're gonna run it back to the vintage mode, and it instantly sounds a lot warmer to me. Might go in and adjust that filter for the sample a little bit. So that's pretty cool at that point. Here's what I want to do now. We're gonna copy the amount of bars and make this an 8-bar loop instead of 4. And then we're going to get rid of the snare on the 4 of the last bar. We're going to do that by just overdubbing over it with the record button, so play by it. We're going to do the same to the hi-hat when it comes back around. That just adds a little dynamic. And I had an idea that I wanted to do on the 8. We're going to come back to this little vocal chop that was in the end of the sample. We're going to overdub that. So that's cool. Liking that. Still going to work a little bit on the sound of that sample. That little part in again because I forgot that we had a note there previously, so we're gonna have to, it's keeping it from playing this. Now it should be good. So that's what we got, that's what we're rocking with now. So I got another part that I had chopped as well. I didn't chop it yet, but I sampled the first verse, where this part part just came from the intro. So what we're going to do, we're going to name this a verse, or verse. Save that, and we're going to go look at the verse part that I told you that I had. And as I play that, I'm going to chop it up like I did the first part.
Dark end of the street, that's where we always meet, hiding in the shadows where we don't belong, living in darkness to hide out wrong. You and me, at the dark end of the street. You and me.
So that's what I've got there, and I'm going to have to go back in and adjust the start points of them, just tighten them up a little bit. So I'm going to do that. So now that I have them chopped, I'm going to copy them. You don't have to make a new program because we have the same program, and we want everything to have the same parameters as the first part. So we're just going to go to the second part of that program. And instead of having all selected, we're going to do multiples, and we're going to select these last two banks. Well, not last two, but C and D. And we're going to assign the second half of that sample. And the fastest way that I've found to do it is if we're doing two banks, I just make all of them somewhere in the middle. And then I go back to current, and I change them all to be in order. I've got more sample than I really need, so I'm just going to put these first 32 there. And let me do that. All right, so I've got them all laid out across the pads, and they sound like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to work them into the other part or make a whole other part out of it. So how we're going to begin this is by copying this sequence. And really all we're concerned with is the drums from it. So we're going to mute the sample, and we're going to go to the bass track. I'm going to save it again. And we're just going to, actually I'm going to leave the sample. I'm going to leave everything in to begin with. Let's try it that way. And we're going to try to add these over top of it. And how I get it to trigger it without giving it priority over the sample that's already in there is I use the note repeat to do that. And you'll see what I mean. We're just going to play it. This one. Let's try something like this. That's kind of cool. So we're just going to overdub that. Oop, wrong one. Maybe we'll find a different one for the end. We're going to go ahead and get rid of the one that's on there. And then let's look for one at the end. So we're going to go, we got... All right, we're going to end it with that how long. We're going to name this hook while it's playing. 2, 3, 4. Oh, I like that. So it sounds pretty musical, like them are endings that make sense musically. One other thing I'm going to do is we're going to copy this sequence one more time, and we're going to name this intro. And we're going to mute the bass. We're just going to play this over top of the drums. We will get rid of the drums here in a second. All right, so that's going to be an intro. And let's take these drums out of here. Just going to mute them and play that into the other part and see how that works. We're going to play it into the first part we made, which is the verse. And maybe we'll load up the XY on the tape stop and see how this transitions. So we got it going into the next. 1, 2. I don't know. It's alright, but. And then into the next part. Might get rid of this bass note on the end of the hook here. Oh, that's cool. I like that. Let's save that. And at this point, I'm pretty cool with what I'm hearing. I would try to make it sound a little bit better. And so we'll start by just kind of dumping everything. The sample and the bass, and we're just going to get with the drums and start listening to them and try to make them sound better. So I'm thinking to make that snare sound a little thicker, since there's not a lot of low end in it, maybe we can balance that out by taking a little bit of the high end off of it. We're going to turn that hi-hat down a little bit more. At this point, I just want the kick and the snare to kind of be balanced. Take a little bit more high end off that snare. Always want that snare to be cracking though. So we got that. Let's go back to that bass track. Kind of want to start with it just snuck underneath that kick drum. So the drums sound kind of weak to me. So one thing we could do was go over to the drums and try some different things. If this decimator sometimes works. Try that across it. And I just used the bit reduction. Not really doing much today. We're gonna go back and try this SP1200 mode again. There's MPC 60, that's better. So let's rock with it. One other thing that I've been messing with that I really liked the last couple of days was using this jingle bell that I have. So we can go back and try to find it and maybe try to incorporate it to add a little bit of shininess. It's a little loud, definitely, as of now. I'm going to darken it up by pouring a little bit of high end off of it. Instantly starts sitting in there better. So let's overdub that. We're just going to put it on the 8th notes. Do that. So we got that. So we got the sleigh bell. Let's put it in there on the 8th notes. Continue to turn blend it back there. At this point, something I've been messing with was the ducker, the mother ducker. So we'll put that across this kick drum. So how I've been doing it is putting it directly on the kick drum and then having the kick drum duck the bass. So we put the mother ducker input on the bass, or on the snare. We put the mother ducker input on the kick drum. We put another one across the snare. We change this one to 2. And something that I've been doing was going to the bass track, and we'll go across that program, and we put the mother ducker, which is assigned to the kick drum, to duck it, and we'll hear a little bit of that. I always take the auto off so that's not bringing it up. It seems to bring it up a little too loud. So we get that pumping a little bit on the bass, and we go to the sample, and we put the input 2 that the snare is working off. So you can hear it starting to pump that. Back and adjust that snare drum, add a little bit of that high end back in. And actually, instead of adding the high end back in, I just take it from a low 2-pull filter to a low 4-pull, and it adds that crack back in. That's a 6-pull. It's a little bit, a little bit too much. So we've got the tambourine on the hook part. We're going to want to go back and put that tambourine on the verse part as well, probably, at least to have the option. So let's put that in there. So, then we got our tambourine everywhere, or not tambourine, the bell. We got our bell everywhere, and this is what we end up with. This is probably where I'll leave you for today. I will probably continue to tweak this a little bit, but I think this is good enough for now, so I'm just going to play you what we have for now. Of the street, that's where we always meet. Hiding in the shadows where we don't belong, living in darkness to hide out wrong. You and me. Got the verse, and eventually we take it into this hook. rocking with me. I'm gonna leave you with this. You guys have a good week. Peace.